What's going on, boys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to go over the top 5 attacking tactics. Now, we're going to go over my top 5 attacking tactics. So if you're ever struggling with FIFA, these are some formations that you should always look to or turn to if you're struggling to create chances or go forward. I just want to say as well, don't forget, I am doing my group coaching exclusively this year with Gamers Academy. So you want to join my group coaching sessions. I do my coaching session on a Tuesday, 7 PM UK time. In fact, tomorrow we're actually going to go over formations and tactics and when to change formation to game, when to know and change formation to game, when to react, etc, etc. And right now on Gamers Academy, they are currently running a deal where you can get 7 days for absolutely free. So your first 7 days are free for you. Link is down below in the description. Don't forget, if you want to get coached from me, it's Tuesday, 7 PM UK time. So you can sign up today if you're watching this on Monday, and you can come tomorrow. And don't forget as well, it's other coaches there in a masterclasses series there on Gamers Academy. Link is down below in the description and on the pinned comment for more information in regard to that. But let's go straight into the video. So in terms of formations, what I've done here is I've got this this tactic board. I'm going to try to illustrate to you why I say, for example, you're going to see when I say the 3-5-2. So we'll start off with the 3-5-2. Let's just first get into it, I suppose. So the best formation on paper now, I have my tactics videos every single week, but there is certain formations that are still up above anyone else. Now, if you're struggling to attack, the 3-5-2 is the best formation in the game. Now, you're going to say to me, well, how? Everyone can say to me, oh, yeah, how is it the best formation? What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. But the truth is that think about every formation in the game. Think about the 4-4-2, the 4-2-3-1. Think about all those formations, right? What does it all encompass? Well, as I said, it's basically a 4-4-2, then extra cam. Your problem with 4-4-2's got no cam. It's basically like a 4-2-3-1 with an extra strike, and it's like a 4-1-2-1-2 with the wing players. So it's basically all the formations in one. Yes, you lose one defensive left back, right back that goes into a left mid role, but it's now I wish you can have a system where you're defending a 4-2-3-1 and you're attacking a 3-5-2, but you can't actually get that to work this FIFA. So the reason why I personally choose is, let's say someone's playing a 4-2-3-1. With a 3-5-2, the benefit is you normally have 2 strikers and you have a cam, and then you have normally your 2 CDMs are going to bring one of these guys from the back line, 2 CDMs and a left mid and a right mid. Now, as I said, with a 4-4-2, it's sometimes hard because you haven't got that middle player. Now, with a 3-5-2, you got that middle player there. Now, why this is important is someone's using a 3-5-2, there's always going to be a player where you can maneuver the ball around these. So you can go, for example, like here, and you can maneuver the ball around these situations. That's why I love it, because if you're ever in trouble, there's always going to be a passing option. For building up play in the final third, this, without a doubt, is the best formation in the game. Now, yes, it is true. Defensively, if you lose the ball, especially if you get countered, it is a 3 versus 3. If you lose the ball and you don't run back with this guy, you have to run back with your CDMs. But if you can run back, attackingly is one of the best. Even if your opponent is parking the bus, let's say he's like this and he's got his left mid, right mid there, you still have more players than he has in the middle of the pitch. Because don't forget, you have one for every single person at the very least. And then when it comes to the cam, normally happens if you send an L1 trigger with this guy going forward, you create here a 3 versus 2 situation. So for me, the 3-5-2 is the best formation. It's basically a 4-1-2-1-2 diamond, and you have the left mid and right mid. It's probably the best formation in the game attacking wise. Very much underrated, and you'll see a lot of people even use this formation in real life. Obviously in real life you can have like an attacking set, a defensive shape, etc, etc. So that is the first one. Do check out my video in regards to for the 3-5-2. It's very, very good in regards to that. Now we're gonna go with one that's a bit more, I would say, typical. So we're gonna go with the 4-4-2. Now the 4-4-2, it's basically the 3-5-2 without that middle player, but even though you do lack that middle player with 2, so let's say normally the back 4's on the halfway line, we're just going to keep it back here to make it a bit more cleaner to see. Even with the 2 CDMs though, you can actually bring the ball between these 4 players, and that's why it's so effective. So you can basically keep recycling. You can always use so normally what happens is you create a 4v4 like this, and then you have, for example, your 2 CDMs and your 2 strikers. You have that kind of square radius. Now, if your opponent's got 2 CDMs, that is where you use basically your CDMs and your 4 to get past these 2 players. So it's very effective inside the box. You'll see this more on the higher end, and the reason why is because a lot of the top tier players, they bring their CDM inwards, and that way it kind of creates like a temporary cam. Or let's say, for example, it's a 4v4. Let's say you got the ball with number 7 here. The number 9, let's say you do an L1 trigger, he runs forward, and then you create a situation where it's a 5 versus 4. That last man running deep. Now, of course, if you lose the ball, you are very much vulnerable. But unlike the 3-5-2, you have a back 4. So defensively, you're more solid. So although you lose that attacking threat, that's why most pros will prefer the 4-4-2. Because you can always bring a player going forward. And of course, for pressing, the 4-4-2 is the best formation. You cover the most of the pitch. And you can very easily just press every single angle. So wherever the ball is, you could basically break up and you can press anywhere. And you can basically press in two. So let's say some of the balls here, you can press like this. Or let's say you go down the wing and you get doubled up. You're going to have at least another player. You can bring a striker back. You're always going to have a 3 versus 3, 2 versus 2 on a wing. And that is why, for example, formations like the 4-1-2-1-2. Now, it is a good formation, okay? I made a tactics video on it. If you like it, then go ahead and use it. For me, personally speaking, the 4-1-2-1-2 is just not my cup of tea. Just because you lack the left mid and right mid. Now, people are going to say, well, why is it important? Well, let me quickly show you something, okay? Now, with the lack of the left mid and right mid, that means that on these wing areas, you're going to be so vulnerable. A, when you're up against someone who's got a wide formation of 4-4-2, 4-3-1, they're going to double up on you on the wings. But B, more importantly, is when you're attacking, you're going to lack that left mid and right mid. Now, I know what you're going to say to me. You're going to say to me, hey, look, what you can basically do is you can basically just bring one of the players back. Or you're going to say to me, yo, you can bring your left back and right back forward. Now, yes, but the left back and right back, when they go forward, they don't really act actually as proper forward players. They kind of just roam in these areas over here. They're not wide and they're not close. And sometimes I feel like they're just, if they could be like here, I wouldn't mind that. But most of the time they're offloaded over there and they don't really impact. Normally I like to have a wide player because what it does, it drags your opponent's left back to your player. But they just linger around there with overlap with everything. So yes, although you can argue in the middle you have that kind of that shape, but the same thing can be evolved with a 3-5-2 anyway. So that is why I prefer, if I'm going to use a diamond, I'd rather use a 3-5-2, use a centre back as part of the diamond, as opposed to the other way around. And that way you have the left back and right back. But the problem is, of course, when you get the ball down the wing against a 4-4-2, you're very much in trouble. You have to kind of bring one of your left centre mid, the right mids, to defend. Of course, you've got one CDM. So defensively, it can kill you. That's why I say you might as well just use a 3-5-2 as opposed to using a 4-1-2. If you're going to bring your left back and right back forward, you might as well just, in my opinion, use the 3-5-2. Just do it. But it's still a very good formation down the middle. Centrally, it's a very good formation. But I just find that if you're up against someone who's pressing you and you're struggling, what I would say is if you're losing, do not use the 4-1-2-1-2 because you need to have a wide formation. That way you can cover most of the pitch. If your opponent is playing a 4-2-3-1, he's going to keep lumbering the ball from left back to right back. And he'll just use hug the sidelines. If he's smart enough, he'll use hug the sidelines. And he'll lob the ball from like here to here to here to here to here. There's no way you can press him in a 4-1-2-1-2. It's the potential, but it's extremely hard. The best formation to press is the 4-4-2. Or probably in some ways the 4-2-3-1. Now on that note, the 4-2-3-1. Another top tier formation. Two defensive CDMs, you're very, very stable. You achieve the exact same thing as the 4-2-3-1. So that's the reason, the 4-4-2 is the reason why I like it. But the benefit is if you have the ball, you can do the exact same thing. You can also bring a CDM going forward. But the key thing is the cam. The 1-2, so the 1-2s between the striker, that shape over there, the 1-2s between all these four players was very, very key in the 4-2-3-1. That's what I love it the most. And I think if you can bring a player going forward manually yourself, you do still get a numerical advantage. But the key thing is, the reason why I love this is that the cam is not next to the striker and the CDMs are basically here. So what happens is ends up happening. Let's move number 10, for example. You end up having this system. So you could just keep recycling the ball, and your opponent's job is to then man mark the defender, or they'll use teammate contain to come towards you and man mark with the other guy, and that leaves your number 10, or in this situation the number 8 leaves them clear. So you do an L1 trigger, you basically relieve the pressure from these two players, make that run going forward, and you can always find a pass. That's why you might see me the first time fake shot with this is so effective. And also you can obviously get the ball, of course, to your cam, and then you could do a 1-2 with your striker as well. And that's why I say with your cam, always have a second striker there. Don't use the KDBs, maybe the new KDB, but don't use the normal KDB. Don't use someone like Kevin De Bruyne or someone like Bruno Fernandes. You want to be using someone like Neymar there, someone like Messi, someone even like if you're playing Ronaldo striker, someone like Mbappe with him. A second striker should always be that number 10. Someone who's got a bit better passing on the lower end, maybe a Ben Yedder up front, and that Son and Cam for a very long time. So that is very important. Of course, you do have the butterfly wings that we mentioned many times before. But that is why I like the 4. But again, it's a lot of manual play needed. But for the average player, just because of how stable the formation is, and with my custom tactics, because don't forget, my custom tactics are made in mind for the average casual player. So when you use my custom tactics, generally speaking, it does help the average player very well. So that is something that I would say. These tactics, the reason why they work is they're made specifically for someone who's between rank 4 and rank 2. And when you use this formation, the idea is that it will improve and elevate your performance without you actually altering your gameplay. Because the tactics, the forward run, slow build-up play, logically it stops you from getting pressed. Forward runs helps you with the L1 trigger. So a lot of these things are done. So you won't see pros use this. But if you're sitting here and you know you're not a consistent rank 1 player, people have even told me they've been rank 1 they've used and it works for them. So that's just how that one works. Then you have the other formation. So the 2 that I would say is the 5-2-1-2 and the 5-3-2. Now, it's always been a top tier formation. FIFA 17 is really where it excelled, I think. But it really this would have been the meta if people, I suppose you can say, listened very early on. This would have been the meta probably in FIFA 19. The reason for that is because these guys were basically unmarked when they go forward. It's basically easy to get the ball down the wing, do basically that nonsense beach ball football and head the ball into the back of the net. But of course, thankfully, no one really thought about it then. And when I released that video, people just laughed. Well, they're not laughing now, is it? 2 years later, it then became the meta in FIFA 20. Funnily enough, after the use by Dolomite. But yes, when the left back and right back, when they go forward, they're basically unmarked. The reason for this is because natural formations like the 4-4-2, the 4-2-3-1, they basically work in FIFA in lanes. So you basically have your left back and right back lane, and then you have this outside lane, which is basically the 5-2-1-2 lane. Not the 3-5-2, it's the 5-2-1-2 lane. So when these guys go forward and overlap, they're basically always unmarked. So in the 5-2-1-2, when you're attacking, you'll be like this. It's very similar to the 3-5-2, except for the left back and right back, they're very wide. And what that does is it forces your opponent to be very narrow. And then what that does is when it forces your opponent to be very narrow, it allows you to distribute the ball easily to your left back and right back. So to either one of these 2 players. And that's why it's so effective. So if you're attacking, if you're talking about attacking going forward, it's extremely effective if you like to cross the ball. So if you're saying then you're like to me, okay, now I like to cross the ball, then the 5-2-1-2 is definitely the formation to go to because you can pass the ball to either one of these 2 guys. And when you run in, always the defender is far away. And the reason why for this is because defender can't be too close like that because there's too much distance between these 2 players and you can play a through ball in behind. So do you see how just the impact of the left back and right back, even if you don't use them, it drags apart the 2 centre backs. So that's why the game decides, okay, let's not mark them, let's leave them virtually unmarked. And that's why it gives you that element of, okay, when the flying fullbacks, as I mentioned, when they go forward, they're completely unmarked and you can always distribute the ball to them. On that note, the 5-3-2 is also better. It's used a bit more on the competitive scene in FIFA 20, mainly because it was more stable. But a lot of players will struggle with this because what they'll find is a lot of the top tier players, they will bring in these 2 players centrally, centrally, so you could pass the ball to them. Because in that way you can get the ball like here and here and pass the ball around, and then it will also bring those players going forward. That was a big logic, but then you do miss that middle cam. So the problem is against the 5-3-2, if you're not smart enough to know when to move them going forward, you could get, because if your left back and right back are very high up the pitch, you could lose the ball and get counted with just 1 centimetre left. So just be very careful if you are going to be using the 5-3-2. But having said that, if they're both on stay back while attacking, you basically have a 3-3-4 system. And it's very, very good in terms of attacking, because you can always pass the ball to your number, to your left centre mid, right centre mid, and they can always have a direct lane to that player. Now, even if they try to match it with a 4-2-3-1, let's say they sit like this very, very deep, what happens is most of the time it drags the left centre mid and right. If these guys aren't come back in defence, they're left mid and right mid, it drags them along and it gives you more space to manoeuvre in the middle. So what ends up happening is you end up having a system like this, where you have 5 players up against your opponent's 3 in the middle. So you can always maneuver the ball around them. So the benefits really outweigh the cons. The only cons is the defensive state. So that is why, if I had a choice, if I'm saying in terms of attacking wise, I would always say number 1, 3-5-2. I would say number 2, I would say the 4-4-2. Just because the way it's laid out. The CDMs give you a bit more stability if you are, but that one's the more attacking one. That's why you'll see my 4-4-2 on the very attacking one. The 4-1-2-1-2 is not a bad formation. It does have its cons, but if it suits your playstyle, be my guest user, because at the end of the day, you want to choose a formation that suits your playstyle. That's why I create different formations. Yes, okay, the 4-2-3-1, it works for everyone. The truth is, it's the best formation. The game always will be, and you'll see this for the end and eternity of FIFA. Because it just naturally is. It's the only formation you can attack in a 5 and defend in a 5. Attack in a 4, and you obviously have the cams to come back. It's so effective. It will always be up there. But also you have then you have the other different variations. Now the other formation, like the 4-2-2-2, is basically a 4-4-2. The 4-1-2-1-2 wide, just a wider version of that, except for you don't have the centre mids anymore. So the 4-1-2-1-2 wide is basically like a 4-4-2 with the cam. So if you don't mind one CDM, the 4-1-2-1-2 wide is very, very good. 4-1-3-1-2 is excellent. So a lot of these formations are all modelled off, at the end of the day, the 3-5-2, the 4-3-1, the 4-4-2. Like you can see, for example, a 3-1-4-2, it's a decent formation, but you lack that cam. People do like to use a 3-4-1-2, but again, these guys are not CDMs, so defensively it's not as stable, but it is much more attacking. But then a 3-5-2 is better. So those are my top 5 formations. I would say if you're struggling to attack, use a 3-5-2, and if you can't attack with a 3-5-2, it's your performance. If you're struggling with a 3-5-2, unless your opponent is not parking a bus, and you really can't get through, then at that point it's time to look at your performance. But if you know your performance is good and struggling with the formation you're using, always go back to that 3-5-2. You'll always find a gap open, just because you create that 5v first 4. And if you're up against the back 5, you create the back 5 versus 5. And it's the only way you can do it effectively. Anyway guys, that is of course the top 5 attacking formations. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.